Monday, everyone. We have a fun little kickstart off the week. We're going to start off slow after that busy weekend with the 24 Hours of Heroes. We are going to take it down a notch and work on some strength work. So we're going to work on a little bit of pulling from the floor. Now, before we get to the actual work set, let's talk warm-up. Our warm-up is going to consist of a good morning of 3 to 5 reps, back scale raise of 3 aside, single leg RDL for 3 aside, and a weighted bridge hold for 20 to 30 seconds. We're going to hold that, take that down 1 to 2 rounds, and then we're going to move down to some practice work in this next phase, which we're going to practice the deadlifts. We're going to work on either a dumbbell, barbell, kettlebell, whatever you're choosing to use for that deadlift. I got 3 to 5 reps for 3-second eccentric to work on our positioning and to work on those skills. Then a Kang Squat of 3 to 5, which is really going to kind of wake up that lower half of the body, again priming up those hamstrings a little bit more. And then moving into a standing lunge of 3 reps per side to really start gearing up that lunge positioning. You'll hit that 1 to 2 rounds, kind of building up some working weight. You want to add a couple rounds in there to kind of finalize some of these movements over here in our accessory work. Please do so. But get yourself primed up, figure out that working weight for our work sets, and then take her down. Our work set today is 3 to 5 rounds, a deadlift with 8 reps, 3-second eccentric on each of those reps. So you're going to have to probably keep it a little bit on the lighter side because of those eccentrics, so that nice smooth lower. Once you're done your 8 reps with the 3 seconds down, you're going to move into 1 round of this accessory, where it's just going to be a single leg RDL for 8 per side, elevated back lunge for 8 aside, and both of those movements have a 3-second eccentric, and then a bridge hold with the dumbbell 30-second hold. So the same bridge hold we're doing at the beginning here in the warm-up will work over here as well to work on waking up our hammies and working on a little bit of core stabilization. After that, you're going to rest 2 to 3 minutes, making sure you give yourself that ample rest. If you're like pressed for time and whatnot, at the minimum 90 seconds, but I would definitely try and give yourself that 2-minute rest so we can hit that deadlift nice and strong and nice and active throughout the entire process. Let's warm you up. Let's get ready to go. We'll have some fun today. All right, let's get those feet under those hips. We're going to take the arms big and tall up overhead. We're going to reach over to one side. We're going to come back through to the other side, reaching, and then come back up overhead, scratching your back and then reaching through the elbow. We're going to come back up overhead with a big old stretch. Scratch your back and then reach with the other side just to reach out that side body. Big stretch overhead. Let's take it all the way down to the floor, touching those toes. We're going to walk up those shins. Nice flat back. We'll come down, framing the foot. Step it back into your lizard. Nice and square in those hips. We're going to take that inside hand onto the front foot, pinning that leg down and that foot down. We'll turn just the torso to the outside hand. Come back to center, lowering the back knee. Press the hip. Come back to center. Press the hip. Come back to center, and press the hip, back to center. We'll straighten out the leg, turn, come back to center, plant the hand. We'll step back into our down dog. As we reach those hips nice and high, come back into that plank. We're going to step the other foot up. Inside hand is going to lock that front foot down, turn the torso, come back through, lower the knee, gently press that hip to the floor, come back through. Press that hip, come back through, and press that hip, and back through. We're going to straighten out the back leg, turn, come back to center, plant the hand, step back into our down dog, reaching those hips nice and high. We'll come back into our plank, pressing through those arms, tiptoe those feet all the way up, and roll yourself back up to that big reach. Little reach to one side. To the other side, come back through, bring those hands down, rock and roll. All right, now, if you have any extra movement you'd like to take down, maybe those hamstrings are a little tight, maybe that core is a little tight from those sit-ups we did over the weekend in one of those workouts, cat-cow, thread the needle, scat push-up, whatever you need to take down to get that body prepped, please take some time to do that now. Pause that video, come back and join me. We're gonna focus our attention on the lower half and get you guys primed up and ready to work on some deadlifts. All right, we're going to kickstart off with some good mornings, and you can take these with whatever stance you'd like. So you can start off with like a sumo, you can come into a squat stance, hip width stance, you can go right together if you'd like. Regardless of what stance you take this at. We want to make sure that that hinge is what we're focusing our attention on. And the mechanics are the same regardless of where our feet are. So we want to make sure that those mechanics are sound. So I'm going to stand about a squat stance today for this one. I'm nice and tall, my ribs are in. I'm going to set my core position and draw my hips back into that hinge. And then I'm going to slowly come back up. So I'm really focusing on one tall piece and solid piece of body from hip crease to the crown of my head. So nice and square, nice and set. I draw back at the hip crease, my back stays super flat. Big toes are down, my weight is through that whole foot and that midfoot, and those knees are soft, and then I come back up. So what we want to find is that nice sensation through that hamstring, like low glute, upper ham, and that's where we want to kind of live with that sensation, taking our time, working on good balance. We got 3 to 5. You can explore different stances throughout those 3 to 5 reps. You can stick with one. It's up to you. Now our next movement is a back scale raise, so it's 3 per side. What we want to focus our attention there on is some nice square hip position. We're going to take our foot back into a kickstand a little bit to make sure we're setting ourselves up well on that front leg. We're going to have those palms forward if you like. I like having the palms forward, turning into that chest position to keep my upper body tight. And then I'm going to push that heel back as I hinge, really focusing on that square torso and that square hip position as I make that hinge pattern. So from the side, it looks like so. I square up, set my hands and upper body, I push that heel back to maintain tension through that back leg, and I'm really focusing on this hip staying pointing down towards the floor. So that means I want you to listen to your body and not worry if you get parallel to the floor or not, but listening to that hip, listening to the body, and only going as far as you feel that body is square and comfortable. So that's where we want to live with that positioning. So take your time with those. Don't rush through that movement. Really trying to focus on that hip and don't go beyond that position. If you need a little assistance, you can grab something like a door frame, kind of use that as a little balancer to really focus on that hip. Once we're done there, we're going to continue working on that hamstring. We're going to do some single leg RDLs. We're going to use this actually in our work set. So this round, it's always nice to do empty-handed so that you can focus in on positioning and just kind of working on warming up that hammy. If you want to add load to this, you can, but for now, it's always nice to warm it up slow. So we're going to set our shoulders up nice and open, kickstand position. I'm going to draw my hip back just like I did in my good morning, keeping my weight through that midfoot. I'm going to come down to just above the knee or just below the knee, standing nice and tall. So it's the same hip hinge. The only difference is that we're staying primarily balanced over that front leg and really maintaining a strong structure there as my hips are square. There's no tempo on this, but if you want to add in that 3-second eccentric that you're going to use in the work set, it's not a bad idea because it'll get you moving and used to that speed of that tempo for the workout. Last but not least in this piece, we're going to warm up that weighted bridge a little bit. So I'm going to lay on my back with my dumbbell close by. And if you don't want to load this first one, you don't have to. But my feet are going to be just outside my glutes. I'm going to take my hands up over top of my chest, facing each other. Or I'm going to hold my dumbbell by the bells above my shoulders as I push those shoulders and dumbbell to the ceiling. My ribs are going to pull in. I'm going to push my feet down into the floor, and that's what lifts my hips up into the air, into that nice little bridge. My shoulders and my upper back are taking all of the force from my weight, not my neck and head, and I'm pushing into those shoulders to find that nice engagement through the side body. And I'm just going to focus on my breathing here. So what I want you guys to really focus in on in that bridge position is breathing into that midsection, into that side body, really expanding the midsection. And then exhaling, turning on those side abs a little bit, but not over crunching through the midsection. You don't want to tuck and crunch. We're not doing a hollow, we're trying to stay open through that bridge. So play around with that a little bit. If you don't want to do it loaded, you don't have to. You can go empty-handed and just work on that good protraction through the shoulders. As a quick recap, we have a good morning, 3 to 5 reps, whatever stance you'd like to play, or a multitude of stances. Back scale raise for 3 aside, really focusing on that square hip. single leg RDL, 3 aside, adding in the tempo maybe, working on positional work for the work set, and then a weighted bridge hold of 20 to 30 seconds, focusing on your breathing. 1 to 2 rounds through that, get yourself fired up. We're going to move into the next phase, which is going to be a little bit more practice on some of these movements that we're going to use in our work sets. All right, we're going to kickstart off this next phase of warm-up with our deadlift. So if we're using a barbell, it's going to be a little bit different in terms of weight placement, but the hinging pattern is going to be the same. Same idea with our dumbbells. We can choose to do a sumo with a single arm, or we can choose to do double dumbbell or kettlebell. Whatever apparatus we choose to use, the principles and the hinge mechanics are all the same. The placement of loading is just slightly different. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to demonstrate with a single dumbbell in the sumo position, and then I'm going to change my positioning for my conventional. So the sumo, I'm going to stand right over top of this, and this will be the same if I was doing it with a kettlebell or a single dumbbell. I'm going to stand nice and tall. I'm going to draw my hips back to my knees and then lower my hips and shoulders down together. So it's a little different than a conventional deadlift setup. My chest is a little higher, my hips are a little bit lower. I'm going to push through my legs. I'm going to stand through that nice strong leg and hip extension. I'll pull back and down, maintaining that good strong back position, taking it as deep as I feel comfortable, not necessarily worrying about touching the floor with the dumbbell, but focusing on my back position and my weight in my feet. Now the conventional is the exact same, except I'm going to hold my dumbbells to the outside. My feet are going to be a little bit narrower, and I'm going to be standing nice and tall. The hinge pattern is the same. I work on that nice smooth flow, not worrying about taking the dumbbells all the way to the floor, but just worrying about taking as far below the knee as I can maintain that upper back position. So just keeping that in mind as we go through that deadlift pattern. The movement is the same, all right? With single dumbbell, 2 dumbbells, the access and that lovely hinge pattern is identical, just placement of loading is a little bit different. From there, we're going to work a Kang Squat, and that's unloaded. We're just going to work on heating up our hamstrings some more. So we're going to get ourselves set up in our regular squat stance. I'm going to draw my hips back into that hinge, that good morning. I'm going to pull my hips down towards my heels, my chest lifting up nice and upright. I'm going to push into that nice hinge pattern. So as I push up, I'm going to feel my hamstrings get nice and taut. I have a nice soft knee, and then I'm going to open up to that nice tall stand-up. So again, I draw back, feeling my hamstrings, pull back into that nice hinge, that squat, and I'm going to push into that nice hinge, hitting that nice position, and stand. So really, again, isolating from hip to the top of the head, like we talked about in that good morning. Last but not least, on this little piece here, we're going to work on a standing lunge. So the standing lunge is a great tool. You can use this in our work set when we get to that lunge work. The standing lunge is a nice variation to start warming up that lunge position to make sure that we're working with that nice vertical torso. So I'm going to set my feet out into that nice stance, that kind of distance that my normal lunge stance would be. My hips are square, my back heel is off the floor, but I'm nice and stacked with the hip and the shoulder. I am going to lower my body straight down so that back knee is underneath of the hip and shoulder, and that front knee stays over top of the heel. And I'm working on taking my torso straight down, straight up. Now this is a nice variation if lunging is really challenging for you in terms of that dynamic step, because you can also use a stick, PVC, countertop to help you get to that sticking point, or work on your balance a little bit to build the strength in that lunge a little bit more. So it's a great tool to use, because I don't need to see you go all the way down to the floor. I want you to go down to where you can control, challenge your edge, and then take it to that edge. As a quick recap, in this triplet, we have a deadlift, 3 to 5 reps with a 3-second eccentric, Kang squat of 3 to 5 reps, standing lunge for 3 aside. To warm up that lunge, you can goblet it, you can load it if you like, you can just work it normal, it's up to you. But you're going to do 1 to 2 rounds, maybe even a few more rounds, substituting the movements that you're going to use in our work set into this warm up to start practicing and working on those working loads. Now, pause the video, play with that warm up, get yourself ready, We're gonna do a quick recap on all the movements in our warm-up, in our work set to get you ready to go. We've made it to the work set, you guys. We got 3 to 5 rounds. Whatever deadlift style you're gonna take down, we have 8 reps with a 3-second eccentric. So that means a normal stand, but 3 seconds down to the floor position, or whatever that floor position happens to be for you. Once we're done our 8 reps, we're gonna move into a round of our accessory work, which is gonna kickstart off with our single leg RDL. We've already covered the points of performance for that movement in our earlier warm-up, but what I'm gonna show you now is just some places you can hold the dumbbell. So if I set myself up here with my kickstand leg, I can choose to hold it at the kickstand leg. I can choose to hold it by both hands in front, nice and close. I can choose to hold it on that balancing leg, all right, the leg that's doing the work. Or I can have 2 dumbbells and work on a double deadlift position with those dumbbells. The kicker here with the double is we have to make sure we keep those shoulders back and open and not letting them slouch over in that hinge pattern. So whatever you feel comfortable with, again too, if you've been using one specific for a while, right, change it up a little bit, work on a slightly different hold, see how that feels with that hinge. We have 8 reps per side with a 3-second eccentric. After that, we have an elevated back lunge, and that's kind of fun. So if you're like, elevated, oh, lunging is hard enough as it is. You don't have to elevate it, but what we're gonna work on is a back lunge with a 3-second lower. If lunging is not so bad, and you have the apparatus at home that you can elevate your foot on, that's about, say, 2 to 4 inches high. What we're gonna do is we're gonna plant that foot on that elevated surface. We're gonna step back with the other foot, lower 3 seconds, stand tall, fully opening up those hips. We'll do all 8 reps on that side, working on that nice upper body kind of stacked position for the lunge. You can load this. You can load it at the farmer's, the front rack, goblet, whatever you want to do, or not load it, and just work on that good eccentric back lunge. Now with this as well, if you're more comfortable doing that standing lunge that we did earlier, please use that standing lunge. You're going to do 8 per side with a 3-second lower, maintaining that good position. Once we're done our 8 per side with that 3-second lower, we're going to move into our bridge hold, the same one we did earlier on with those arms above our chest, or holding onto that single dumbbell, working on that good open midsection. A big focus of this is our breathing. So we want to work on stabilizing, setting that position, and then breathing into the nose, filling that midsection, exhaling through the mouth, and feeling those side abs kick on a little bit, not overusing those 6-packs, okay? Once we're done that, you're gonna rest for what you need and tackle it again. You're more than welcome to change loading in between these rounds, but we wanna make sure that we're executing the reps, and that's more important than adding more load. So if you're like, wow, that last rep is super, super tough, perfect, all right? If you wanna add some load and you're still able to hit those reps, even better. But reps over load for sure, and have fun with these positions. I hope you guys enjoy. Listen to your body today, especially if you hit up Saturday and Sunday with those 24-hour hero wads. Listen to your body and make sure everything feels good, and adjust your loading as necessary. This could very well also turn into a good movement day and not focus on adding a ton of load, but just waking your body up and using it as a good act of recovery. So listen, have fun, and enjoy. All right, we'll see you tomorrow for a slightly faster, slightly burning work set. Bye, you guys.